I want you to think back to the first moment you met them. The first smile. The first spark. The first time you thought, where has this person been all my life? Because that moment wasn't an accident. It wasn't fate. It wasn't chemistry. It was a performance. A performance tailored specifically for you. But you didn't know that then. How could you? You were just excited, hopeful, maybe even open in a way you hadn't been in years. And that is exactly why they chose you. You didn't fall in love with a person. You fell in love with a mask. A carefully constructed, beautifully polished, expertly crafted version of who they knew you wanted. And when a narcissist decides to pull you in, they become exactly what you've spent your whole life searching for. Not because it's who they are, but because it's how they win. They study you, not with curiosity, but with intent. They listen to the way you speak. They watch your reactions. They pay attention to what lights you up and what hurts you. And then they shape themselves into the answer to every unhealed wound you carry. It feels magical. It feels synchronistic. It feels like destiny. But that's the mask. That's the trick. That's the illusion that starts everything. They don't bond with you. They mirror you. This part is going to hurt a little, but you need to hear it. The narcissist doesn't fall in love with you. They fall in love with the way you respond to them. They don't connect with your soul, they copy it. Perfectly, effortlessly, strategically. They mirror your humor, your values, your vulnerabilities. Everything feels aligned, like puzzle pieces clicking into place. But that alignment isn't love, it's mimicry. They become your reflection because reflections are easy to adore. And when you're looking into their eyes, you're not seeing them, you're seeing yourself. Your dreams, your desires, your unspoken needs. It feels intimate, it feels profound. It feels like you've known them forever, but what you're feeling isn't compatibility, it's manipulation disguised as connection. Why you were chosen. Let's shatter another illusion gently. You weren't chosen because you were weak, or naive, or easy to fool. You were chosen because you were strong, empathetic, open-hearted, emotionally intelligent. You have qualities narcissists lack, and qualities they want to extract, consume, and wear like armor. They chose people who care deeply, people who see the best in others, people who don't give up easily, people who believe in potential. These traits are gifts, but in the hands of a narcissist, they become vulnerabilities. You weren't chosen because something is wrong with you. You were chosen because something is right with you, something they don't have and never will. The honeymoon that feels like destiny. The early days feel like a miracle, like life finally gave you what you've always deserved. The way they look at you, like you're the only person in the universe. The constant affirmation, the affection, the attention, the intensity. It's intoxicating, not metaphorically, literally. Your dopamine spikes, your oxytocin surges, your nervous system becomes addicted to the euphoria they create. This is the soulmate illusion. The emotional high that binds you before you ever even realize you're tied. You're not imagining it. It really did feel like the strongest love you've ever experienced. And here's the part no one tells you. A narcissist love feels powerful not because it's real, but because it's targeted. They give you everything, because eventually they will take everything. The perfect partner, until they aren't. Narcissists don't reveal their true self right away. They can't. If they did, you'd run. So they perform. They project an image of themselves that's flawless, magnetic, irresistible. They make you feel seen in a way nobody else ever has. They make you feel wanted, chosen, special. And for a moment, a beautiful, dangerous moment, you believe you're safe. But behind the mask is someone fragile, someone empty, someone who can only maintain this performance for so long. Because narcissists don't love you, they love what you give them. Admiration, validation, attention, devotion, energy, identity, supply. You are the mirror that makes them feel whole. As long as you keep reflecting the version of them they want to see, the mask stays on. But the second you become human, the second you need something, expect something, or set a boundary, the mask cracks. And the person who once made you feel like a dream will start making you feel like a burden. Why the beginning feels so real. You might still wonder, but why did it feel so real? Why did it feel like love? because some of it was real. Not their love for you, but your love for them. Your emotions were genuine. Your hope was real. Your excitement, your trust, your vulnerability, all real. They weren't faking your feelings, they were faking theirs. You gave your heart freely, they gave theirs strategically. That's the difference. You felt the connection because you were connecting. They felt the connection because you were attaching. It wasn't love between two people, it was love from one and extraction from the other. And still, you miss the mask. Even now, even after everything, a part of you misses them. Not who they became, but who they pretended to be. The version of them who made you feel alive. The version who made you feel cherished. The version who made you feel chosen. But that version never existed. It was a character in a play they wrote for you. A role they stepped into because it got them what they wanted. Missing the mask doesn't make you weak, it makes you human, and it means the manipulation worked. The mask is coming off. This is where everything begins to shift. The compliments grow quieter, the warmth becomes inconsistent, the attention becomes conditional, the energy changes, the atmosphere tightens. They look at you differently, not with admiration, with entitlement, not with connection, with expectation. Not with love, but with hunger, because the mask can only stay on for so long, and the person underneath it is nothing like the one you fell for. This is where your story changes, where your reality bends, where your world begins to feel unstable, where confusion becomes your new normal. And this is where part 2 begins. Part 2, love bombing, the hook that changes everything. Now I want you to remember something with me. Not the whole relationship, not the arguments, not the confusion, not the pain. Go back to the very beginning, to that first wave of affection that hits you like a tidal surge. The long messages, the deep conversations, the constant compliments, the overwhelming attention, the feeling that someone finally saw you. That wasn't an accident, it wasn't natural, it wasn't normal. You were being love bombed, and the truth is, almost everyone falls for it. It starts with intensity. Love bombing doesn't feel like manipulation. It feels like magic. You feel chosen. You feel wanted. You feel adored in a way you've never experienced. They text you constantly. They say things like, "You're different. I've never felt this way before. I can't believe I found you. You're my soulmate. I've been waiting for you." And it all comes fast. Too fast. But you don't question it because it feels good. It feels perfect. It feels like everything you've ever hoped love would be, and that's exactly why it works. They study you before they love you. Narcissists don't fall in love. They analyze, they observe, they calculate, they target. They pay attention to what you've been missing. Affection, consistency, validation, protection, understanding, stability, intensity, and presence. And then, like a shapeshifter, they become the embodiment of every unmet need you carry. You think it's compatibility. They know it's strategy. Love bombing isn't love, it's gathering data. Every time you react to a compliment, every time you open up about your past, every time you express a fear or a longing, they store that information, not to understand you, but to use it later. The more you reveal, the more they weaponize. You feel seen because you are, too well. It's flattering at first. Someone finally notices the little things. They care about your stories. They remember your details. They admire your strengths. They validate your vulnerability. But narcissists don't mirror you to connect. They mirror you to hook you. They reflect your dreams. They reflect your values. They reflect your deepest desires. You feel seen by someone who isn't actually looking at you. They're looking at the version of you that gives them the most control. The high that rewires your brain. Love bombing creates a psychological addiction. Here's what actually happens. Your dopamine spikes, your oxytocin surges, your emotional boundaries melt, your nervous system attaches, your brain rewires itself around them. In a very real way, you become addicted to the feeling they create. They are the drug, and you are the dependent. That's why the withdrawal later hits so hard. That's why you keep forgiving. That's why you keep trying to go back. That's why you feel like you're losing your mind when they pull away. They taught your brain to crave them, not the person, the chemical reaction, the words that hook you. During love bombing, their vocabulary changes. It becomes poetic, intense, future-oriented. I can't imagine my life without you. I've been searching for someone like you forever. I want to build a future with you. You're the only one who understands me. I feel safe with you. I feel like you're my home. These lines aren't impulsive, they're rehearsed. Narcissists use languages to create emotional dependency. Everything they say is designed to make you feel special and make them feel indispensable. The goal isn't connection, the goal is possession. The attention feels endless until it isn't. During love bombing, you'll notice one thing above all: they are always available. They'll respond instantly, they'll initiate constantly. They'll pour attention on you like water into a glass that never spills. It feels like devotion, but what it really is grooming. They want to condition you to expect intensity, because once you're used to it, they can weaponize the withdrawal. And they will. Why you ignored the red flags. Looking back, maybe you noticed the pace felt unnatural. Maybe you had moments where something felt a little off. Maybe it felt too fast, too intense, or just too perfect. But here's the truth. You didn't miss the red flags. You were blinded by the spotlight. No one thinks clearly when they're being overwhelmed with affection. Love bombing is designed to bypass your instincts. Your intuition didn't fail, it was drowned. And they counted on that. The moment you gave in. There's a moment, you know the one, when you realize you're emotionally invested. You feel closer than you should, more vulnerable than you expected, more attached than you planned. And just like that, they have what they wanted. Access, control, influence, your heart. That moment is the hook, the point of no return. The moment where the narcissist knows you're in. And once you're in, the game changes. The attention slows, the warmth cools, the intensity fades, and the energy shifts. Not dramatically, just enough for you to notice. Just enough to make you chase the feeling they created in the beginning. Love bombing creates the perfect setup for abuse. This is the part that hurts the most. The love bombing wasn't real, but your attachment was. You were sincere, they were strategic. You were open, they were observant. You wanted love, they wanted supply. Love bombing is not romance, it's psychological conditioning. It creates the bond that makes the next phase possible. The confusion, the devaluation, the gaslighting, the emotional starvation, and finally, the power imbalance. Love bombing is the doorway. Everything that comes next walks through it. The shift is coming. If you've been here before, you know what happens next. The coldness, the distance, the irritation, the sudden change in tone, the subtle rejection, the confusing silence. The same person who once made you feel chosen will start making you feel replaceable. The same person who once wanted you constantly will begin to retreat. The same person who once lifted you up will start tearing you down. Not all at once, not obviously. Little by little, piece by piece. Not enough for you to leave, just enough for you to doubt yourself. And that is where we go next. Part 3. The descent. Gaslighting, devaluation, and identity erosion. There's a moment, a quiet, almost invisible shift, where everything begins to change. No fights, no dramatic explosions, no warning. Just a feeling, a heaviness, a silence, a distance in their voice you can feel but can't explain. It's subtle, so subtle you start doubting yourself. And that's exactly the point. The descent doesn't begin with cruelty, it begins with confusion. The devaluation phase isn't loud, it's quiet. At first, it's just little things. A shorter reply, a colder tone. The compliments stop. The affection slows. The attention you were drowning in suddenly evaporates. They don't hold you as long. They don't look at you the same. They stop noticing the things they once praised. And even though they say, "I'm fine," nothing feels fine. The warmth that once felt like sunlight now feels like a timer that ran out. This is the beginning of devaluation. Not enough to panic, just enough to destabilize you. And destabilization is the foundation of control. They pull back, so you lean in. You start trying harder. You text more. You ask if everything's okay. You replay conversations in your head. You blame yourself. You apologize for things you didn't do. Because the shift feels like it's your fault. They trained you during the love bombing phase. They conditioned your brain to depend on their attention, so when the attention disappears, your nervous system goes into survival mode. You're not trying to win them back, you're trying to get your emotional oxygen back, and they know it. This is where gaslighting begins. Gaslighting doesn't always look like overt lies. Often, it looks like emotional denial. I never said that. You're overreacting. You're imagining things. You're too sensitive. You're remembering wrong. Why are you making a big deal out of nothing? Words designed not to defend themselves, but to break your sense of reality. And the worst part? Sometimes they say these things calmly, softly, with a tone that makes you feel like you are hurting them. Gaslighting works best when it feels like care. Confusion is the narcissist's favorite weapon. You don't realize it yet, but you're being conditioned to question your own mind. You stop trusting your memory. You stop trusting your instincts. You stop trusting your own feelings. And once you stop trusting yourself, you start trusting them. That's the goal. A narcissist doesn't want your honesty, they want your uncertainty, because uncertainty makes you compliant. When you don't trust your own perception, you rely on theirs. That reliance is the leash. Identity erosion happens slowly, then all at once. It starts with little criticisms disguised as jokes. You're too emotional, you're too needy, you're too dramatic, you're too intense, you think too much, you always make everything about you. Each comment is small, dismissible, easy to shrug off, but every little insult is a chip in the foundation of your identity. Not enough to break you, just enough to weaken you. And eventually, you start editing yourself. You speak softer, you take up less space, you share less, you apologize more, you walk on eggshells without even noticing you're doing it. You're losing yourself slowly, quietly, invisibly. This isn't an accident, it's a strategy. The emotional roller coaster is on purpose. After pulling away for days, suddenly they're warm again. After ignoring you, they compliment you. After criticizing you, they hug you and say they didn't mean it. Your brain doesn't know whether to expect affection or rejection, and that unpredictability becomes a deeper hook than love bombing ever was. It's called intermittent reinforcement, the strongest psychological bond humans can form. You become addicted, not to the narcissist, but to the hope of the narcissist. The hope that the person from the beginning is still in there. The hope that if you just try harder, they'll come back. That hope is the cage. Triangulation, the sharpest knife they use. Then comes the comparison, the ex, the coworker, the friend, the stranger on their phone, the imaginary person in their mind. Suddenly, you're not enough. Suddenly, someone else is more interesting, more attractive, more understanding. Triangulation is psychological warfare. It makes you compete for affection that was never real to begin with. It makes you feel inadequate in a relationship where you once felt extraordinary, and it makes them feel powerful, watching you fight for something they never planned to give. Blame shifting. You become the problem. Their bad day becomes your fault. Their emotions become your responsibility. Their mistakes become your burden. You made me react that way. If you didn't do that, I wouldn't be upset. You're the reason I get like this. You push me to my limits. Blame shifting makes you feel guilty for their behavior, and guilt is one of the most effective tools of control. If you feel guilty, you tolerate more. You forgive more, you overlook more, and you lose yourself more. And they gain everything. Your nervous system is breaking, and you didn't even know it. You start feeling exhausted, anxious, irritable, drained, disconnected from who you used to be. You stop recognizing yourself. You stop smiling like you used to. You stop dreaming like you used to. Your world shrinks to one person, a person who is slowly destroying you, and yet you can't walk away. Part of you remains hopeful. Part of you believes the beginning was real. Part of you is waiting for the person you fell for to come back. That part is the trauma bond forming, and that's what part 4 is all about. The descent ends with silence. One day you wake up and realize you're no longer fighting to be loved, you're fighting to be treated like a human being. This is the moment that mirrors shatter. This is the moment that illusion dies. That is the moment that the narcissist tightens the leash, or prepares to discard you. Either way, you're entering the darkest psychological phase of them all, the phase where love turns to addiction, and you lose yourself trying to save someone who was never real to begin with. And now, we go there. Part 4, Trauma Bonds. Why you stay even when it hurts. There's something you need to hear. Something people who've never dealt with a narcissist will never understand. You didn't stay because you were weak, you stayed because you were bonded. Trauma bonds don't form because someone treats you well. They form because someone mixes love with pain, hope with fear, affection with punishment, comfort with chaos. And that combination doesn't just confuse you, it rewires you, literally. Trauma bonds are chemical, neurological, physiological, emotional, psychological. They're not a failure of strength, they're a result of being human. The cycle. How trauma bonds begin. If love bombing is the hook and devaluation is the descent, then trauma bonding is the trap. It starts with the cycle: intense affection, followed by cold withdrawal, followed by affection again, followed by rejection, then warmth, then silence, then blame, then apologies, then love, then pain. And you don't know which version of them you're going to get, and the unpredictability itself becomes addictive. This pattern creates the strongest attachment humans can experience, even stronger than healthy love, because healthy love feels safe, trauma bonds feel urgent, and the urgency feels like fate. Your brain is trying to survive. You think you're staying because you love them, but there's something deeper happening underneath. Your brain is trying to protect you from the emotional withdrawal that comes with leaving. Trauma bonds involve dopamine from the highs, cortisol from the conflict, oxytocin from the intimacy, adrenaline from the fear, serotonin disruption from instability. This isn't romance, this is neurochemistry. Your nervous system is being rewired to depend on the person who is hurting you, and that's the cruelest part. Your brain forms a bond with the source of the pain to survive the pain. It's not love, it's survival. The push and pull makes you feel chosen. One of the most painful illusions of a trauma bond is the feeling that if you can just fix things, they'll go back to the version they were in the beginning. Every small act of affection feels like a reward. Every apology feels like redemption. Every crumb of love feels like a miracle. That's not an accident. Narcissists give affection strategically, just enough to keep you attached, just enough to make you stay, just enough to make you doubt your pain. And so the hurt becomes part of the love, and the love becomes part of the hurt. You're not waiting for them to change, you're waiting for them to change back. But that version never existed. It was a performance, a mask, a lure. And now you're clinging to a ghost while trying to survive the person standing in front of you. Why leaving feels impossible. People love to ask, why didn't you just leave? Why didn't you just walk away? Why did you stay so long? They don't understand that leaving a narcissist is not like leaving a normal relationship. You're not leaving a person, you're leaving an identity, a fantasy, a version of yourself you only knew with them, a hope that felt real, a dream you desperately wanted to protect, a story you weren't ready to end. And biologically, you're going through the same withdrawal patterns seen in drug addiction. That's why leaving hurts so much. That's why you feel like you're dying. That's why your body shakes, your chest tightens, your mind races. It's not weakness, it's withdrawal. And withdrawal always feels impossible until it isn't. Your empathy was used against you. This is the part that breaks people the most. You stayed because you care, because you're loyal, because you have empathy, because you love deeply, because you believe in people, because you wanted to help them heal, because you saw their potential, because you didn't want to abandon someone who needed love. But narcissists don't want healing, they want control. They don't want partnership, they want power. Your empathy wasn't appreciated, it was exploited. Your loyalty wasn't treasured, it was taken for granted. Your love wasn't returned, it was consumed. They didn't keep you because they valued you. They kept you because they needed your reaction to feel alive. You don't break a trauma bond by leaving, you break it by understanding. Trauma bonds start to dissolve the moment you stop romanticizing the beginning and start understanding the cycle. Once you see the manipulation clearly, the spell begins to crack. Not instantly, not painlessly, not simply, but slowly, quietly, powerfully. The more you understand about narcissistic tactics, the harder it becomes for the narcissist to control you. Awareness is the first factor, clarity is the second, distance is the third. The bond doesn't break in one moment, it breaks across 1,000 realizations. Realizations like, they never loved me, they loved the way I loved them. They needed control more than connection. The beginning was manipulation, not destiny. I was loyal to a fantasy, not a person. My empathy is a gift, they turned it into a weapon. I lost myself trying to save someone who wasn't real. Every realization is a piece of the chain falling away. The Hoover, when they try to pull you back. Just when you start to gain clarity, the narcissist senses the shift. They feel the distance, they feel the power slipping, they feel the loss of control. And that's when they come back. Not because they love you, but because they love the way you made them feel. They will come back with promises, with tears, with apologies, nostalgia, sudden self-awareness, with vows to change, with, I miss you, you're the only one, and I can't lose you. This is the Hoover, the final stage of the trauma bond. They're trying to pull you back into the cycle, not because they've grown, not because they care, but because their supply is leaving. A narcissist doesn't fear losing you, they fear losing control over you. And that fear turns them into the most convincing actor you've ever seen. But you are waking up. Trauma bonds don't break from distance alone, they break from realization. You don't heal by forgetting the beginning, you heal by understanding it was never real. You don't heal by missing the good moments, you heal by seeing the pattern behind them. You don't heal by blaming yourself, you heal by recognizing the manipulation. The moment you see the narcissist clearly is the moment their power over you begins to die. And even if you're not fully ready to walk away yet, you're closer than you think. Because now the truth has awakened you, and the truth is something a narcissist can never control. Part 5. Escaping the narcissist. Recovery, boundaries, and rebuilding. If you're here now, it means something inside of you has already shifted. Maybe it was the moment you realized the love was conditional. Maybe it was the moment you caught them lying, again. Maybe it was the silence, the blame, the erosion of who you once were. Or maybe it was that quiet whisper inside you saying, I can't live like this anymore. Whatever brought you here, you need to understand something. Leaving a narcissist isn't an act of weakness, it's an act of awakening. And you're waking up now. Leaving isn't just walking away, it's breaking a system. People on the outside think leaving is simple. Just go, just block them, just move on. But they don't understand the invisible chains, the psychological hooks, the dependency created through months, sometimes years of emotional conditioning. You're not just leaving a person, you're leaving a pattern, a cycle, a bond that was built on your deepest wounds. You're leaving the version of yourself you became in order to survive them. It's not easy, but it's possible, and it's necessary. Step 1. The shift in identity. You have to see them clearly. Before you can leave physically, you must leave psychologically. You have to see them, not as the person you fell for, but as the person they really are. Not the mask, not the potential, not the good moments. Not the version they become when they're afraid of losing you. You must see the manipulation, the patterns, the chaos, the lies, the control, the emptiness. Once you stop romanticizing the beginning, the bond begins to break. Clarity is the antidote to manipulation, and you're getting clearer every second. Step 2. No contact isn't harsh, it's healing. A narcissist doesn't respect boundaries, they only respect access. As long as they can reach you, they can control you. So the most powerful step you can take is no contact. No calls, text, no checking their social media, no stalking their new relationships, no just seeing how they're doing, no emotional recycling. Every time you reopen the door, you give the trauma bond an opportunity to reattach. No contact isn't about punishing them, it's about saving you. And if no contact isn't possible, if you share kids, family, a home, then low contact with high boundaries is the next best thing. Short responses, no emotions, no explanations, no defending yourself, no engaging with bait. Turn your heart off around them, turn your logic on. Step 3. Expect the Hoover. They will try to pull you back. They won't let you go easily. When a narcissist realizes you're slipping away, they panic. They will promise to change, cry, apologize, bring up old memories, claim they've had a revelation, use guilt, pity, anger, jealousy, use sex, use silence, use new people to trigger you. They'll become the exact person you wished they were, for a moment, just long enough to hook you again. But here's the truth. They don't want you back because they love you. They want you back because your absence exposes their emptiness. Don't mistake their desperation for devotion. Hoovering is not love. It's possession disguised as regret. Step 4. Grieving the person you thought they were. Leaving a narcissist is not just escaping abuse. It's grieving a fantasy. You're mourning the version of them you fell for, the future you imagined, the hope you had held on to, the love you believed was real, the part of yourself you lost along the way. But grief is not a sign you made the wrong choice. It's a sign you're healing. You didn't lose a soulmate, you lost a parasite disguised as one. And now, you finally have space to become yourself again. Step 5. Rebuilding yourself. Slowly, quietly, powerfully. Recovery isn't linear. Some days you feel strong, other days you feel shattered. Both are normal, both are part of healing. Here's what rebuilding looks like. You relearn your own voice, your own worth, your own needs. You relearn your own boundaries. You relearn that love shouldn't hurt. You relearn that peace is not boring, it's safe. You relearn that real relationships don't require losing yourself. Healing is remembering who you were before someone broke your reflection, and then, slowly, becoming someone stronger than before. Step 6. Understanding the pattern so you never repeat it. The final stage of recovery isn't fear of falling again, it's awareness. Once you've seen the cycle, you don't fall for the mask anymore. You recognize the love bombing, the intensity, the mirroring, the fast intimacy, the soulmate language, the sudden devaluation, the gaslighting, the self-centeredness, the emotional inconsistency, the entitlement. With awareness comes protection. You aren't guarded, you're educated. You aren't cold, you're discerning. You aren't hardened, you're awake. And nobody can ever dim the awareness you've earned through survival. The truth narcissists never want you to know. Now listen to this slowly. You were never hard to love. They were incapable of loving you. You weren't too emotional. They were emotionally empty. You weren't too sensitive. They were too cruel. You didn't stay because you were weak. You stayed because you're loyal. And loyalty is not a flaw. It's a superpower in the right hands. You didn't fail. You learned. You didn't break. You transformed. You didn't lose yourself. You're finding parts of you forgot existed. The story doesn't end with them, it begins after them. Leaving a narcissist isn't the end of your journey, it's the beginning of your freedom. It's the moment you start surviving and start living. It's the moment you stop clinging and start choosing. It's the moment you stop believing that love should hurt and start believing that love should heal. You're not who you were when they found you. You're stronger, wiser, sharper, clearer. You didn't escape a relationship, you escaped a psychological prison. And now, you get to rebuild a life that finally feels like yours. You've just witnessed one fragment of the human mind's hidden machinery. But the truth is, there's always another layer, another mask, another lie. Subscribe if you want to keep peeling back the skin of reality. Leave your thoughts below. Every comment is another voice echoing in the dark. Until we meet again. Don't trust everything your mind tells you.